welcome to Crawlspace. I'm Tim here today with Lance. Lance, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic today because mostly we have a guest on that has pretty much restored a lot of my faith in humanity. Before we get to that, I need you to restore my faith in how you're doing today. And I hope everyone out there is doing well. Are you able to say you are doing well as well, Tim?
Thank you for asking, Lance. I am doing well today. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to speak with our guest today, who's also an old friend of mine. I met him in Los Angeles, 10 years ago or something like that. I'm not really sure, but he made a documentary that I worked on for a day or two with him that is called Queen Mimi. And I highly recommend checking out this documentary. Zach Galifianakis is in the documentary. I think Renee Zellweger is in it briefly as well. But it is a movie that came out in 2014. It's a documentary about a woman named Mimi Haste, who has sadly, unfortunately, recently passed away. But she was a homeless woman on the streets of Santa Monica who actually lived in a laundromat for a period of time. And Zach Galifianakis and Renee Zellweger actually rented her an apartment and even furnished it. And they really befriended her. And it's an amazing story. Highly recommend checking out Queen Mimi wherever you get your documentaries. But Lance, this interview today is mostly about his new project. It's called The New Adventures of Gidon Lev, based on a book called The True Adventures of Gidon Lev. And Gidon is a Holocaust survivor, Lance. And I just feel like this topic is so important in today's political landscape where it's so hot and you have people denying that the Holocaust even happened.
This is an important documentary, and our friend Yaniv is making it for very little money, and you can donate to this by going to Kickstarter.com and searching The New Adventures of Gidon, and that's Gidon Lev, Lev, and you can support this. And the reason why I say this is an important documentary is partially because of what you just said, Tim. This topic is still out there, Holocaust deniers and the like. And Gidon is a bridge, and we talk about this in the interview, between several generations. World War II and the Holocaust happened in the 1930s and 40s. And we're in 2022, and we have a really unique opportunity to hear from somebody who was alive and went through it. And that's not going to happen very often, if at all, in the next few years. So you need to make sure that this individual's story is out there. And he has a remarkable relationship with this woman, Julie, who is now his partner. And they have taken on social media to promote their message and fight things like anti-Semitism, racism, homophobia, transphobia. It's amazing what they're doing on social media. And again, to support this documentary is really not to be hyperbolic, but to keep history alive and to keep the truth about things alive.
Absolutely. Yeah, this project is dripping with humanity, just like Yaniv's last project, Queen Mimi, was. And you can check out thenewAdventuresmovie.com, and that'll take you right to the Kickstarter. But also, you should follow The True Adventures on TikTok. They have amassed over 372,000 followers on TikTok. It's The True Adventures, and Gidon comments right back to people who call him a liar about the Holocaust, and it's honestly fascinating to watch. All right, so I really hope you like this interview with Yaniv Rokah, documentarian, and his son makes a little appearance in the background during this interview, so there might be some sound where you hear his son, and sometimes it's hard to get away from those kids.
Well, I think it speaks a bit to the humanity that you mentioned with Yaniv. He's doing the interview while he's in Israel with his family. He's taken some time to be with his family. His son's there, and it's part of the personality that is Yaniv, and it comes across in such a genuine way that to cut it would just be to take away from what we're trying to say about his character and what he's trying to do with his career. Tim, tell people some news.
Well, if you would like to hear this episode and all of your favorite Crawlspace episodes ad-free, I've got an answer for you finally, Lance.
That's been the question on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I figured. You can go to crawlspace.supportingcast.fm and you can subscribe to Crawlspace Premium for the price of a cup of coffee that you and I would split per month. You get all the Crawlspace ad-free episodes. You also get a bonus show. It's a weekly bonus show called the Crawlspace Crypt.
Well, now that has been removed from the tip of my tongue, I have another question that has taken its spot at the tip of my tongue. If we're doing this for the Crawlspace show, are we doing this for the Missing show?
You are absolutely correct. We are. And you can check that out at missing.supportingcast.fm. And if you're not familiar with the Missing podcast, we speak about missing people. And on the Missing Premium subscription service, we speak a little bit more openly about our opinions on these cases.
Well, now that that's been removed from the tip of my tongue, you know what's next up on the docket and has reached the tip of my tongue, and that is, what are we doing this summer?
We are touring with true crime obsessed Patrick Hines and Maggie Freeling. Lance, we're hitting 5 cities in the month of August 2022. It's Orlando, it's Atlanta, it's St. Paul, Dallas, and then Houston. Check out tickets at truecrimeobsessed.com.
And if anyone is out there in the fine city of Atlanta, we have been instructed to push that show. We want to pack that house. We're excited to go to Atlanta, and we want to see you there. So again, that's truecrimeobsessed.com, and click on the See Us Live link.
Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. Make sure to follow us on social media. There are links in the show notes.
And be sure to donate to this amazing documentary. Again, that is at kickstarter.com, and just search the New Adventures of Gidon Lev.
Welcome to the podcast, filmmaker Yaniv Rokah. How are you today?
Hey, great, Tim. Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You said before we started rolling that you are not located anywhere close to our neck of the woods. We are on the East Coast of the United States. Where are you so professionally broadcasting from right now?
Yeah, at the moment, in my hometown, Netanya in Israel, which is a small beach town, Mediterranean Sea. A few weeks ago, I was in France, and before that, I was in New York, where I currently reside.
Yaniv and I met years ago in Los Angeles while working on one of your other films. It is called Queen Mimi. Can you tell us a little bit about that documentary, Queen Mimi?
Yeah, so I was working as a barista at a coffee shop on Montana Avenue in Santa Monica, if anyone is familiar with Santa Monica, affluent neighborhood. And I remember getting up early at 5 to open the cafe. It's like one of these fancy coffee shops where, they make all the drawings and stuff. And we were the first ones, really. So we were a big deal in town. So I would notice every morning across the street an elderly woman kind of getting up like at the same time and doing her business, and just got my curiosity, like what is she doing there at like 5:30 in the morning, and who is she and what's going on? So out of curiosity, I started reaching out to her, gave her some coffee in exchange for, she would wash her like dirty rags. And turns out this, figure in Santa Monica, everybody kind of knew her, the Queen of Montana Avenue, but no one really knew her story. So I had to dig in, and I started following her around on my cell phone. This is back in 2014, so it wasn't even that great. But I think the first instinct was I wanted to preserve whatever that she presented to me, which was magical, basically. Like, she was very funky and always, dresses up in pink and loves to laugh and dance. And we're talking about an 85-year-old lady, by the way, homeless lady who lives in a laundromat. So, one thing led to the next. And then I found out she's best friends with like Zach Galifianakis. And then I realized like maybe there is a movie here. And I started, making calls and borrowing cameras. And then it gotten a little better. And that's when I got the call from Elliot Kotick, who became the producer and introduced me to you, Tim, to help out with DPing, doing some photography. And I think I was going to pay you, and then you said, you know what, you don't have to pay me. This is how much I loved her and the project. I want to support it. So it's those little things that people do and turn into something beautiful. So it ended up doing really well in festivals, and then we got distribution with Netflix. So the movie Queen Mimi was on Netflix for 3 years.
You can't really explain enough about the feeling that documentary gives you. It's beyond a moving story about an eccentric woman. Like, it really makes you look at your own life and makes you appreciate everything that you have. And if anyone hasn't seen it yet, you said it was on Netflix for a little while, for 3 years. Where can they still get it on Netflix?
So it was on Netflix for 3 years, and then now it's on it was on Apple for a while. Now it's on Amazon or Amazon Prime, and so that's where people can find it. I think also on Vimeo on demand, so people can still watch it. Yeah, I love what you said. I mean, in a way, I think it's everyone finds something unique that they probably project onto Mimi, like she was that special. And everyone who met her along the way fell in love with her and wanted to help out, reach out, like, are you okay? Do you need help? How can we help you? And I think it was the same with Zach. When he met her at the laundromat, he was back then an unknown comedian. And then he just found out this older lady on the bench, and, they struck up a conversation, and they ended up being best pals. And then he ended up helping her big way. So that's the beauty of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a beautiful story, and Zach Galifianakis's connection with Mimi is very heartwarming. You kind of just get a feel for the way they interact, and it's humorous and heartwarming as well. And you mentioned the word magical. I feel like that's the perfect word. That was actually the word that was coming to my mind too when you said that. There was something magical about Mimi, and I'm sorry that she's gone now.
I know.
Unfortunately, tragic loss. She inspired something in everybody who met her and who watched the movie, and it is difficult to put your finger on it.
Yeah. I think she saw everyone as equal. Like, that was a big one. Like, in her eyes, in a little sparkle, in the sparkle in her eyes, when, especially good looking men, by the way, but she always, invited people into her life. Like, there was something, that the aura, I guess they talk about, people have this, she had a pink aura. And people just kept coming in and chipping in and helping. And she really she made the community of Santa Monica stronger. I remember, her birthday parties. I was at her 96th birthday party in August of 2021. And just like maybe 50 people, including Renee Zellweger, show up to celebrate her birthday party. It comes to show you that, what a wonderful person she was. Not perfect, but pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, who's perfect, really? And what this does as well is makes you, and at least it made me, look at everybody and not just pass someone by as like a vagrant with no story. And that's the real one of the real powerful aspects about telling her story, is that don't write certain people off just because they appear to have a lot less than you materialistically. She's like rich with character, and you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot from people like that. And since watching that movie, I try to talk to people. I try to talk to people if someone is on the street and they have like a petition and sign this. So many people just walk by people. Like, just make eye contact. Give a smile and see what happens. And there's really nothing bad's ever happened, because I think for the most part people have something good to say and they have a good story. And if you take nothing else from Queen Mimi, you got to take at least that. Like, realize that everyone's got a story.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. She really, someone I think wrote in one of their reviews that, like, a face to homelessness, right? Like, there's so many homeless people in California. And that's something that also really sat with me for a long time. When I moved to the States, I've never really met any homeless person in my life. And then, there was kind of a shock, like, there's so many homeless people here. Why? Where is the family? They must have had family at some point. Why is the family not helping out? Like, what is going on? So I think there is part of that too, of like, I wanted to make a film about like homelessness perhaps, but through an incredible character that, to show you that they're all different. They're not all, on drugs, or, you can't generalize, basically. I think that's the core for me. It's like, they're all special in their own way, and we just have to open our eyes and hearts and try to include them and help them out, reach out, and make it better. Because I don't know when the last time you were in Los Angeles, my friend, but it ain't pretty.
Yeah, I heard the pandemic has made the homelessness even worse. Yeah, it is a tragic problem. Well, Yaniv, let's discuss your new project, the New Adventures of Gidon Lev. Can you tell us a little bit about this project?
So Gidon is 87 years young. In many ways, he reminds me of Mimi. I just can't help myself. It took me such a long time to make another documentary because I couldn't find anything that sparked my interest as much as the elderly, perhaps. I think I have a weak spot for older people, and especially when they're motivated and love to do crazy stuff and dancing and just like full of life and on a mission. I think it just lifted my spirits. So when I found out about them, I reached out to, let me retrace for a moment. So when Queen Mimi came out, it showed at a festival in Haifa in Israel. It's a big film festival. And that's where I met Julie, who is Gidon's partner. And we kind of struck a friendship, and then she also reviewed the film on Huffington Post, so definitely stayed friendly with her. But then she started posting on Facebook and social media about her relationship with this Holocaust survivor. Julie is a Californian native. She never met a Holocaust survivor in her life. She moves to Israel after a loss to kind of reinvent her life, find a eat, pray, love moment, only to realize she came to one of the most complex places in the world, Israel, and dodging rockets from not knowing anyone, not speaking a word of Hebrew. And then she meets Gidon. One day he calls her up and he's like, I hear that you're a writer. Would you write my memoir? Julie said, I don't think so, but I'll have coffee with you. And then they have coffee, they fall in love, they write the book. wins a bunch of awards. It's a great book. It's called the True Adventure of Gidon Lev. Then one day I just Facebooked her and said, I think there is a film here. I'd like to, come and meet you guys in person and maybe make a documentary about your story. And so they were very excited about that. So I filmed them a few times, kind of like trying to understand their relationship, how they got together. They have a beautiful story. Obviously, Gidon is a Holocaust survivor with an amazing story as well. There's so much to talk about here. So and then suddenly they started TikTok together, and it goes viral in like a few months. So it doesn't get better, right? Holocaust TikTok. Hello.
Well, that must have been an incredible cup of coffee. I like how you told the story. You said, "Oh, she got together with him. They had a cup of coffee, fell in love." Like, was it really that much like love at first sight?
So I did ask Gidon on our first. I auditioned them on Zoom. This is like deep in Corona pandemic, and I said. So they told me how they met each other, and I said, Gidon, so is that love at first sight? And he goes, probably second. And Julie was like, what?
That's great.
Israel is a tough place. It's not always, lovey-dovey. So, and I think love at second sight is even better, probably sweeter, right? Because by then you got to know the person. And then they move in with each other. They create things together. They go on a hot air balloon adventure, like just like crazy stuff that I don't do at my age. Hence the new Adventures of Gidon Lev. And obviously, they educate younger generation about the Holocaust on TikTok, and fight trolls and deniers and anti-Semites and just so much more.
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program. Yeah, that's one of the first things that you see, I guess, about their TikTok page, which has over 370,000 followers as of this recording. And there's obviously a lot of their videos are about the Holocaust. Some of them include Gidon dancing to negative comments about the Holocaust, calling it fake, calling him a liar about it. And in one, he says that, I wish it was a lie.
Right.
Which is quite profound. How important is this page for people to see on TikTok, on social media?
I think they're doing a remarkable job. They're getting so much hatred. It's scary, but they change people's minds, and people reach out and they say, oh my God, thank you so much. We now understand a little better, or we are curious about the history. We want to know more. So I think this is the future. This is where we're going to educate people about, I guess the world is TikTok now, right? That's where you learn things. So at least let's make it fair and right. Let's not rewrite history, please. And unfortunately, a lot of these haters found this platform as well before, Gidon did. And so you have to fight back. And as you said, it's not only about the Holocaust. They're very political. They're very verbal about everything that's happening, that's current.
I'm going to try my best to articulate this as clearly as I can, but I feel like the past few generations have gone through like this sort of fog where a lot of bad education happened. And I feel like a lot of people buried their head in the sand when it came to recognizing how much hate there is, not only in the world, but especially in the United States, because no one taught anyone about certain genocides that were inflicted on minority populations, and we were given like bad history, and that just led to more ignorance. And I feel like what they're doing, what Gidon and Julie are doing, is using that platform. They know what they're going to get. They know they're going to get this hate, but at least that hate is like rising up. At least that hate is coming to the surface, and it's been coming to the surface for the past like 7 or 8 years. So bring it out. I mean, this world got to a certain position because a lot of people buried their head in the sand, and they didn't want to know about certain things, and it wasn't properly taught. So if you can use your platform and you can get, several 100,000 followers, it's going to come with hate, but at least that hate is going to be there, and you're going to be able to address it like head on. And it's brave what they're doing.
Yeah, they're very articulate. I love that. I think Julie is such an amazing ambassador to, I mean, Gidon is amazing himself, but Julie obviously is behind the scene, the puppet master or whatever. She helps Gidon with creating all these amazing videos, and they're very current. They're very sharp. Julie was like a top editor or a ghostwriter, I guess, in Hollywood back in the day, and she worked with some, really big names. So she understands story, she understands rewrites, she understands history, and so having her there, she's doing a better job than most of us who also buried their head in the sand because, a lot of times it's like not comfortable to talk about these things, or we hide, we shy away from it, like let's not talk about it, right? But I guess that doesn't work because you get the other extreme on the other side. So it sends me back to when we started to be Facebook friends or social media friends. There were all these wars with Gaza, Lebanon. It's like it was a lot for me as an Israeli trying to defend Israel at the time. Like, people are being killed. It's a war. It's terrible. But. So I would lose friends and I would try to defend Israel, but it wasn't always easy. Meanwhile, Julie is, liberal, progressive, and doing such a great job defending us, Israelis. She's not even Israeli. Now she is, I think, but she knows how to tell a story. Julie is amazing. Gidon is so much fun. I spoke with him today. He's very excited. We're making a movie, and we need help and support.
I want to ask a little bit about Gidon's story. Now, he was in a concentration camp when he was between the ages of 6 and 10. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
His parents or grandparents were killed in the concentration camp?
Yes, he was in Theresienstadt, which was a propaganda camp where they would show, look how well we treat these people, like they make music and art. And so he was there with his mom. And then when the war was over, he found out that 26 members of his family died, including his dad. So then, like, how do you begin life from there as a 10-year-old? So they moved to the States and then Canada, and then he moved to Israel, married, had a daughter who was kidnapped. And then he went to California, found a daughter, kidnapped her back, come back to Israel, and started another family. So yeah, his story is filled with twists and turns. It makes a great, obviously there is the book, The True Adventures. And so, yeah, we want to tell his story in this documentary, the relationship with Julie. And for me personally, I want to understand like Julie's angle too, like what makes someone who is, like a Californian, successful writer go to like such a difficult place, I guess, if I may say. Like I'm trying to understand that angle. And then obviously their work, how they make it work, the odd couple, right? He's 30 years older than her.
There's an incredible story that you painted a broad brush over with his daughter being kidnapped, and then he went to California and kidnapped his daughter back. Can you get into that just a little bit more? That's really fascinating.
Yeah, his first wife was American as well. They lived in a kibbutz for a few years. And I think when she was about 4, I guess she had it with Israel or with the kibbutz, and then she took the daughter and moved to California, not telling Gidon anything. Gidon obviously suspected, and he literally took the first plane out. That's his character, though. He's like a doer, not knowing anyone and anything. Just like, this is all described beautifully in the book, by the way. And then, he spent, I think, a couple months there until he found out about his ex-wife and the daughter. He literally went to the house, took the daughter, got on the plane back to Israel, and, just like that.
Wow. Okay, that's incredible. Yeah.
They're friends now. They're all friends, by the way. His ex-wife and him and the daughter. They made peace. But his daughter now lives in Santa Cruz, and I was going to interview her actually a couple months ago when they were in the States, Gidon and Julie. But then literally everyone had COVID, like first Gidon, then Julie, then I. So it was just not meant to happen.
How painful is it for Gidon to fight back against Holocaust deniers online?
They struggle sometimes, both of them. Julie would say, like, I'm really disappointed we didn't get, a certain amount likes that we hoped we would get on a certain post. So sometimes they're having hard days. And then, but there's also so much love out there and so much support. We're getting so much support right now with this, just with the trailer that we put out. Maybe we're not going to make it with the Kickstarter campaign, but the amount of like support is just, it blows my mind, which again reminds me of the Queen Mimi project. It was like, it's just like everyone kind of like hop on the train and like wanting to help. So that's what I love about these things. Like, it takes a village and a lot of work and effort, but it's going to happen. And that's what I told Gidon today, is like, I'm disappointed that we're not getting, we're not able to raise all the funds yet. And I said, number one, there's still time. There are 17 more days. And number two, even if we don't, we're still going to make your movie. Like, rest assured. Are you with me? Is like, Yaniv, I'm with you all the way. Yes. So to answer your questions, it's a ride. Obviously he's getting up there. He's 87. He's no spring chicken anymore. Julie would sometimes call me and she goes, I'm really worried about Gidon. He's talking about not delivering flowers anymore. Like, well, he's 87. Things are gonna happen, obviously, rapidly. So I feel like I'm on a mission and need to hurry up to tell his story, because at the end of the day, there are not that many people out there that are still witness for this, moment in history, and it's so important to preserve that and tell their stories. So I'm gonna do it.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you if you address or what your feelings are about him being a Holocaust survivor. So we're talking about this generation, the 30s and 40s, and then 30 years later, Julie's born, right? Or there's that 30-year difference between the two of them. So she's almost acting like this bridge between what is almost a lost generation that, in the meantime, all these movements have happened in the world and in culture, and now together she's sort of bridged the generations, and together they fight all of these. They fight for human rights. They fight transphobia. They fight homophobia. They fight anti-Semitism, and they use social media. So it's this incredible arc that is taking place here through generations, and I just want to know your thoughts on that.
Honestly, you've said it so beautifully. Like, it's exactly that. Like, Julie, we need Julie to make this happen. I don't think Gidon was able to do it alone. And Julie saw the potential. When Gidon asked her to write a book about his life, she said, me? Holocaust? No, I can't. Like, she's a convert. She's not a born to Judaism, right? Like me, which is you kind of take for granted. So she said, no, I can't. That's not mine. But something happened. I think she felt like there is a call for her to be that person, to carry the torch. And so yeah, she's the bridge. She's smart. She's got it. She really, she gets social media. They're very involved. I'm just blown away from the work that they're doing in this day and age, better than any, like history book, like, because no one reads anymore, right?
And we'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Thanks to our sponsors, and now we're back to the program. So, Yaniv, with Queen Mimi and now the new Adventures of Gidon Lev, these stories, they're like overflowing with humanity. And it's almost like they're stories that are trying to teach us indirectly about life or indirectly about ourselves. Like, what is it that you take from these stories?
I'm going back to bridges. I feel like older people are also a bridge in many ways, because they, when they're eloquent, like Mimi, like Gidon, they help us transition into perhaps, being an elderly one day. It's not so bad at the end, right? At the end of the road, it could be like fun, and it could be important. You can still have a mission, and you can still have that spark. For me, that is, like I said before, I always had a weak spot for older people. I'm not sure why. I maybe my parents, I'm a youngest child of 10 brothers and sisters, so I always have see my parents as like old, perhaps that. But I think I recognize something really beautiful in, I almost said children, but in a way they are, to me, the same, that purity, that this is what it is, like take it or leave it. It gives me hope. It really does. It gives me hope in humanity, in people.
Like you nailed it when you said that this is what it is. I mean, especially in this case, what he's gone through, the worst that anyone will probably survive, at no fault of his own, taken and put through that like horrific experience that was a defining moment in like world history. And now he's doing this. So it's almost like, why wouldn't you listen to this guy? Why wouldn't you say, why would you question anything someone in his position would say?
And he happens to be fun too. He loves, I think he reminds us that we should keep our dreams alive. Like here it is. Like, I feel like with both Mimi and Gidon loves to dance. He loves tap dancing. He took lessons in his 60s, tap dancing. Really? I think in his entire life, one second, Baba, his entire life, he wanted to be a dancer, perhaps, but he couldn't, because he had to take care of family. He had to survive. He had to build and be, and, kind of like Mimi. She probably was meant to be a Cinderella, and she ended up being a Cinderella much later in life. But don't stop dreaming.
Okay, now tell us about the Kickstarter campaign. You're raising money to finish this film.
So yeah, I did Kickstarter for Queen Mimi. It went really well, and I just came back to the place where it all began. And maybe I was slightly naive asking for a lot of money, but my producer friend Elliot once said, Elliot Kotick, Tim. He said, you should ask what you need. Like, just put it out there. And I did it. I'm asking for half of the money of what I need, but I know that this sum would allow me to really make, a big chunk of footage and start editing perhaps. And then, people come on like later in post-production, things like that. So I'm not worried. I'm in a rush. I need to film Gidon. He's 87. There's no tomorrow. Got to do it now. Whether I raise the money or not, I got to do it. I'm going to do it. But it would be nice to raise the money.
Awesome.
I agree. And we'll put the link and everything in the show notes, and we'll make sure that everyone knows about, spread the word on social media and everything. But I also want to add, it's not just a story about Gidon and Julie. It's a story about like our history and preserving that, and being a part of something that is good for your heart. Like right now, so much crap out there is just so bad. Like, be a part of something that'll do some good, that'll warm the hearts of other people, and just, it's a good thing. It's good for humanity. Like $50, you get $50 from a few hundred people.
Yeah, exactly. Just give up 2 lattes and make a difference. But yeah, this is an important bridge, I think, to re-educate or just educate a lot of people out there. Yeah, I feel like we're on a mission. Thank you guys for inviting me. Like, I was so thrilled when I heard from Tim. I was like, oh my God, Tim.
Of course. Happy to help. I was shocked to see the story that you were telling again, and how rich it is. And frankly, Holocaust deniers and things like that are so disturbing to me that I didn't know where to start. And when I saw your email come through, I thought that was a great place.
Yeah, we got to fight. We got to fight with education, with books and films.